So this is a video workshop if you were absent today for our Google Meet workshop on algebraic properties. So what we have here are statements, and we need to find the algebraic property that goes along with each statement so that we can solve our multi-step equation. We're going to use these properties down here to do so. So we're given an equation. Literally, somebody gives that to you. I give that to you. So when we have that first statement and it looks identical to what we're given up here, you just write the word given. You didn't have to do anything. There's no step. You didn't have to do anything to get that. It's just given to you. You write the word given. Now we have to figure out, how did we get from our given statement to the statement below? So when I say statement, think of steps. So how do we go from that first step moving down to the second step? We know that when we're solving multi-step equations, the first thing that we have to do is the distributive property. Let's check to make sure that we can use the distributive property. So we had 3 times x, which is 3x, and then 3 times positive 2, which is a positive 6. Got rid of the parentheses. So we know that this step is the distributive property. And if you need to see an example of that, feel free to look down here at our algebraic properties. Now we need to figure out how we got from here to 3x plus 1. So how did we get rid of this 6? And how did the 7 turn to a 1? Well, we know that we're subtracting 6 from both sides, but remember, when we're thinking about algebraic properties, instead of thinking of we're subtracting 6, think of that we're adding negative 6 to both sides. So if you look down here, we're going to use the addition property of equality, and this example is literally this example here. So we've got our addition property of equality. All right. So now we need to think, how did we get from this 3x equals 1 to x equals 1/3? We know that we had to divide x by 3 because 3 is that coefficient. We need to get x by itself. But again, instead of thinking divided by 3, we're going to think about multiplying by 1/3. So we're doing the inverse operation. Instead of dividing, we're multiplying. And then we found the inverse, or the reciprocal, of 3, which is 1/3. Because if we could write it like this, 3 over 1, and then the reciprocal is 1 over 3. The reciprocal means we're flipping the numerator and denominator. So we are going to use the multiplicative property of equality here, because we are multiplying by 1/3. Perfect. Now on this next frame, I just went from frame 16 to 17, just moved one over up here. We'll do another example. So again, this is the equation that we have. We are given the equation. So our first step is given. Our first step is always given. Now we need to think, okay, what did we do to get from this given statement to here? Again, when we're solving multi-step equations, the first step that we do is the distributive property if it's there, and it is here. We know that because there are parentheses. So our first algebraic property is the distributive property. We're distributing that 2 to the y, making it 2y, and 2 to negative 4, making it negative 8. So now we have to think, what is next? How did we get from this statement to this statement? And obviously we got rid of that negative 8, and the 10 changed to an 18. So we had to add 8 to both sides. Again, we're using the addition property of equality, because we're adding that negative 8, or we're adding an 8 to both sides. And then lastly, we have to get y by itself. So we've got 2y equals 18, and we're down to y equals 9. We have to divide by 2 to get y by itself. But again, instead of thinking of dividing by 2, think of multiplying by 1/2. So instead of dividing, we're going to multiply. Those are opposites. And instead of looking at it as a 2, we're going to look at it as 1/2, the reciprocal, which is the opposite. So then this is the multiplicative property of equality. Perfect.